Hey everybody, JJ here. Thanks for coming back and joining us today. We're having a Zoom networking on Saturday, and I'm really excited. This guest speaker we have today is someone I've been dying to get onto the call. Um, she is one of the rock stars out of Pace Warby Sub 2 community. Just a really nice, wonderful person that probably like most of us started as a student studying real estate and became an investor and now an entrepreneur and is highly, highly respected within Pace's Sub 2 community. And again, you guys have heard me mention Pace Morby. He's the premier genius in real estate finance in the country, which means the world. And Pace's Sub 2 community is by far unparalleled, the best real estate education platform out there, bar none. Our guest speaker is an absolutely wonderful person I've had the pleasure to meet in person. And I'd like to introduce you guys to my good friend, Effie. Effie, how are you?
I'm good, JJ. How about yourself?
I'm good. I love your microphone. That looks pretty cool.
Thank you. It's the mic that Pace uses too.
Hot dog. That's well, two rock stars. There you go. Can't argue with that. Hey, really quick, for those that don't know you, where in the country are you located?
I'm in Chicagoland. And for those of you who reside in Chicagoland, you have my sympathy. It is cold in the winter, humid in the summer, very large. I mean, frankly, I should say it also produces some really good things because it produced my son-in-law. And my granddaughter was born here. But the climate.
Yeah, I was actually born in Chicago.
Oh, there you go.
I think when I was a kid, I had some bronchitis or breathing issues or something, and that might have been what helped my mom get us out of Chicago to Southern California. But we moved to LA the summer I turned 6, and I've spent most of my life out here. Um, you know, you and I met through Pace Morby's community, Sub 2. And boy, I heard your name forever, ever, ever. And I say it all the time that, you guys, you don't market your business, you market yourself. And when you market yourself and you put your name out there, people will know your name before they know you. And that's when your name becomes your brand. And, if you're not in the Sub 2 community, but when you get in there, you will very quickly know of and hear the name Effie. She's well known within all the circles of our group. Effie, we all started real estate at different times and in different ways. Was real estate something when you were in your youth? We're in our teens, 20s, we're growing up, going through high school, college, into adulthood. Were you exposed to real estate early on through family, or did it come later on for you?
It came pretty early on.
What was your exposure to real estate?
Well, I started when I was little because my mom couldn't speak English and she needed an interpreter, and I was the interpreter. So I was dragged along to get to see these properties, and I wasn't happy about that. But after a while, I actually liked it. So that's where I started to learn.
Wow. That's something else. Now, was this something some of us were introduced early and then we did other things for a while and then we got into the investment aspect. Were you always involved, or did you break away for a while and then start with the Sub 2 thing that we all know?
I would say that real estate is in my blood. I've never really left it. When I had been married, my husband was a high earner, so he qualified us for the mortgages, but I was the one that was looking at real estate. So I've always had it very close to my heart, but I didn't come in touch with Pace until about almost a year and a half now. So it hasn't been that long. When you call me a legend, I'm like, wait a minute, but that's okay. I'll take any compliment. But the point is that I was looking for alternative ways to do real estate. And that's when I met Pace. And he is, like you said, a genius. He's really, really creative, and he's very much a giver. And I adore him.
Yeah, no, he is so genuine. I love Pace. I really do. I've had the pleasure to meet him about five or six times. When you started doing real estate before you got to the investment world, was it? I'm curious because what was it? Single family? Was it commercial, multifamily, or what was it? What was your experience?
It was normally single family, but anytime I've purchased a property, I expected to be able to sell it at a profit. So the second property we purchased with my husband was in Boston, and we purchased that at 115 and flipped it. Well, when we moved 2 years later, we sold it at 317. So that was a really good thing. And then we went to Philadelphia and again purchased the property at 615, and 2 years later sold it at 610. This was 40 years ago. So you can imagine the properties were big. But I also purchased a couple of duplexes and used them as rentals. So yeah, not commercial.
Have you always done your investments in the local area, city or state that you've lived in, or have you?
Yes, I have. I have. And now I'm trying to, I don't want to buy in Chicago, but, what can I say? I'm looking at a couple of different markets and I will, because of sub two, I think I will probably branch out.
Yeah, there's just I was never aware of, I grew up in California and sometimes all we know is our local area. But now that I've gotten into investment, my first acquisition from an investment standpoint was out of state. For me, was in Ohio, and so I'm open to other areas of the Midwest. And for those of us in California, it's a high buy-in with a low return of investment. Where in the Midwest, it's a lower buy-in and a higher return of investment. So, from a starting standpoint, it makes sense for us to go there. Pace's community started just a few years ago. I think it's just about 3 years now. On your ascension into, becoming a successful investor, which you are, was there anyone that played before you met Pace? Because Pace has been a role model for all of us. But was there anyone before that had been maybe a key contributor to your success, or a role model for you, or someone that helped point you in a certain direction?
Not really. I did follow Bigger Pockets. And I also joined Anderson Advising, which is where I met Pace. So these are things that I consider as educational but not inspirational necessarily. Whereas with Pace, it was educational, inspirational, everything. So I haven't really met anyone that has inspired me like Pace has. However, since meeting Pace, there have been so many people in the community that I find very inspirational.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. So many nice people, so many nice people. And when I met you in Tampa at Carl Allen's event, I was just thrilled to meet you. I'd heard so much about you. I'd seen your name all over, and sometimes we don't realize, the exposure we have and how far it goes, and how people see us, and I
That's
think.
true. That's true. I will say I came on when you were talking about social media, and I will say that my own experience has been surprising because, I know you go on and on and on, and that makes me a little bit uncomfortable, but thank you for the compliments. The thing is, I just see myself as a little old biddy.
Yeah.
And, don't ask me why, people are kind and nice to me, but they are. So I appreciate it because I just figured I'd be in the back of the room looking over the heads of everyone, looking at the young folk, and I'd be happy doing that. But I do think that for whatever reason, attention does come to some of us easier than others, I guess. Certainly wasn't expecting that. And it's taken a while to feel comfortable. But the advice I would give is just do it. Like Pace started a little bit more than a year ago saying we need to get on social media. And I told him, I don't think so. No way. And then he explained why. And I realized, oh, yeah, why do you always have to be right? So, bottom line is he is my mentor. I do listen to him and I do as he says. But generally speaking, although usually there's a bit of a squabble at the beginning. And after starting a year ago, I wasn't super consistent. And then when he came out and said, you got to do a podcast, I was like, stand on your head. But here I am. I have a podcast, everybody. And I am even starting a Zoom series on what I finally put my blinders on, which is co-living. And I have my second mentor, who is Sam Wiegert. And Sam Wiegert is a very kind young person who has quite a bit of experience in co-living. He is not by any stretch of the imagination a pace, but he could possibly become one if he works really hard. And I'm calling him on the things that I think he should change and where he should model pace and how he can do better. And, he's a young dude who doesn't have to listen to an old biddy, but he's open. So I'm very touched that my knowledge of pace can actually help Sam. And I think that it's great. And I think that Sam and Pace, I expect that they will meet at some point. And Pace knows I'm doing co-living in Sam's mentorship. The idea is to bring it into sub 2.
Awesome. Yeah, it's amazing sometimes as we're out there, I also deal with a lot of the younger folks out there in sub 2. I don't know a lot about real estate. I guess I do a little bit because I'm a landlord. I probably know more than I think I know. But I think the thing I just really try and show with others is to the relationship thing. And I think that's something that comes more with experience. When I was a kid, I was shy. I stuttered. I was very uncomfortable speaking in front of others. And I just kind of gradually come more familiar and comfortable with that, just trying to share that aspect with other folks. You mentioned your podcast, and I want to promote your podcast. I want to promote you. Is it you have a YouTube channel now?
I do. And Mike Key was nice enough to drop the link. It's called What the Effie. That's the name. And I bring people in. It's all real estate based. And at first it was everyone in just sub 2. But now I've brought people in that are not in sub 2.
Hey, you guys, if you're watching on the call now on YouTube, or if you're live on the call, please subscribe to Effie's channel. Please support her presentation. Please watch her videos. You're really climbing along there. You've already got 1.1 thousand subscribers. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that was a big thing. I will tell anyone who's thinking of doing a podcast, like if in Project Forward or whatever, it is a long haul to get to 1,000. I thought I was never going to get there, but it doesn't matter. I ignored it half the time, but other times it just stuck out like a sore thumb. And I had been getting one complaint about my sound being a bit tinny because I still only have my little cheap Logitech and my speakers are like this big, So I promised myself that if I get to 1,000, I'll go ahead and splurge and get a mic. So I did get this microphone with the help of Mike Key. And it's not difficult to put together. It's just a pretty penny. So I wouldn't suggest doing it unless you've got the money or you reach a certain number. I know from Project Forward, I'm talking with a bunch of people and they're all unpacking these big ass microphones. And I don't know, maybe they got a lot of money, but I felt I needed to earn it. So once I hit 1,000, I got it. And I don't know if I'll ever worry about the camera or whatever. I sure don't care about my background. My background's my back. This is my kitty. This is my poor lighting. I think that in some degrees, one of the things that has helped me to get to where I am is I just don't give a shit. Oh, sorry about that. I just don't give a darn, meaning that whatever I do, it's who I am. And hopefully I don't offend you too much, but I can't edit stuff. So, when you started and you was, wait, let's do it again. I was like, okay. A third time, you know, I was like, you must be in movie business or something, because I'd be, you know, to me, it's just go, and whatever it is, it is. And, you know, I had been criticized by the sound on the sound, and I get that. But I also was criticized on my intros and outros and things, because I didn't know what I was doing. So I just kind of fumbled through it. And apparently they're supposed to be like just a few seconds long, and mine is a minute and a half and blah, blah, blah. But you know what? Even though some people thought, oh, you can't do that. Oh, you shouldn't do that. Other people said, I love it. It's weird or different.
Well,
And I'm like, you know what? It's done now. I am not going back and changing it.
time, there is no right, there is no wrong. We just do whatever works for us.
If you enjoy whatever it is you're doing, in other words, don't make it any more work than it has to be, then I think you're more likely to be consistent, because I think consistency is really important. So, I did catch the tail end, JJ, when you were talking about how to set up your profile and everything. Well, if you go to my page, you'll see I haven't done that. And, it's okay. I will do it at some point, but just get out there. That's and being consistent. I think that's the only real advice I have, is like, don't miss if you can avoid it. And unfortunately, I had one guest speaker got so nervous that he backed out on me. And I was like, oh, now what am I going to do? Because it was only like a day or two. And I decided, okay, I'm going to do a Q&A with the fans,
Yeah.
because I didn't want to miss that. It's Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I try to do it. Holiday or no holiday, I try to do it. So that's about the only thing I'm focusing on, is just being consistent and not caring too much, because otherwise I think I wouldn't. I mean, I don't like being in front of the camera, and I often have to catch a glimpse of myself. I'd rather not, but aside from that, just push through it and worry about or focus on the consistency, and the rest will come. Because you know what, Pace, one of the reasons Pace convinced me is I had told him I don't know anything about this stuff. I just push buttons. And, JJ, because, I was saying, I don't know what I'm doing, and I still don't know what I'm doing. But he said, well, so what? I said, well, I'm not going to be any good. And he said, well, do you think I was any good when I started? And I looked at him. He said, if I sucked at when I first started, so if I sucked, why shouldn't you have to suck? And I looked at him, and in my opinion, Pace has a persona, or whatever you want to call it. He's got this groove, but I have gone back and looked at some of the very early Zooms that he did, and he looked like such a little Mormon baby, because he's so clean shaved, and he wore the short sleeve shirts, and they were like buttoned down, and he looked like he was going to preach the Mormon Bible, right? And he looked so square and teeny, and he is a small person, but now he's got this groove going, right? And I thought to myself, yeah, you probably did suck, and you're so successful. You're right. If you suck, why shouldn't I suck? So I'm like, okay, let's go. I can suck.
There you go.
And that's helped me to just not care as much.
I think that's so key. I think that's a great contribution. I think for anybody watching who's thinking about doing their own podcast or even just getting on video. We've got a young man on named Peter, who's one of my favorite students, and not my fellow students, I should say, and a good friend of mine. But he started doing videos, just holding his phone up and doing short videos that he posts to Facebook, and he's doing quite well with that.
Yeah, wherever you start, you can't get any worse.
Yeah, and
so start.
Yeah, just there is no there. Whatever we do in the beginning, we're only going to get better. And so that's the whole thing, as you say, just start and enjoy it. Just, I don't have it, take it too seriously. I like yourself. I'm not a big fan of seeing myself on camera, but yeah, I think the biggest part for me is actually getting to know other people and taking enjoyment in that. So let me ask, before you did your podcast, now you have a Facebook page, but you're also doing Instagram. Are you
Yep.
doing Instagram with reels or anything like that? You do videos or?
Yeah. But I don't have like a particular, like I still use what the Effie. So maybe Mike can drop that if he doesn't mind. But I don't worry much about what it's on. Like, here we go. You can see I posted on my Cosmo flowers. I posted on my grandbaby. This was the last podcast I had, which uses the theme of movies, and they chose Dumb and Dumber, and that's Mitch Roy and Richard Nolan. Have I got it right? No.
No.
But I just post on whatever it is. Now I've been given the word from my daughter that I can't use my grandbaby anymore, and I get it. And I'm going to miss having her on there. But for me, it's like my cat. It's like whatever it is, because I'm not going to stress on it. If I stress on it, I won't do it. And again, it's just a consistency. I have to post once a day. That's all.
You're the topic that you wanted to talk about today. I think we're kind of getting into that, is getting your real estate journey started. And I think that, Pace has inspired a lot of us, and, you've gotten started. You got your Instagram, you've got your YouTube, you've got your podcast. As far as new people, we have people that are going to be watching on YouTube. We have some new people on the call with us right now. I think you probably already answered this, but I'm going to ask it again anyway. What are some of your suggestions for the new people? Just get started. I think is one of the things you'd mentioned, but
right.
Okay.
So if you're in sub 2, or even if you're not, you need to get some entities so that they're up and going when you find the deal and when you're ready to JV, things like that. So I wouldn't waste too much time on that. I'd try to find out how to do that. And if you're in sub 2, of course, they teach that, or in Gator. But just start talking to people. There is so much in sub 2, and it's so humongous that I don't see how anyone can avoid the shiny object syndrome. And I kind of feel like I had to go through it in a way, because first off, I couldn't do anything else at that time because I was in Canada and it was during COVID, and I couldn't set up my entities. I couldn't open up bank accounts down here and stuff like that. So all I could do is talk to people. And I think networking is the key for probably life and also business, and certainly real estate. So just start getting to know people. I think the more you talk with them, then over time you decide that that person isn't who you thought they were at first, and you'd rather not have anything to do with them, or you keep getting to know more and more about them, and eventually they become true friends. So I think that you need to start understanding and getting to know people so you know their needs. How can you help them? What is it they want? What is it that this is challenging them? And the more people you know, then the more you know that this person wants this and that one has this, so you can connect them.
There you go. Mr. Mario Finkbeiner, you are on with Effie. What's your question?
Hey, Effie, how you doing?
Good, thank you, Mario. How are you?
Good, good. Long time watching you. Have not really actually called to you. Quick question on co-living. I do sober living. Is co-living, I guess, for the newbies, is co-living similar to that, pad split, or what?
Well, my understanding of sober living is, of course, you're focused on people who are trying to get better and to recover. So those are the only types of people that are usually in the house. I mean, you're not going to have, a professional ballerina in there, unless she's in rehab. So co-living is similar in that each house that they live in has a single focus. Or at least I feel they're going to be most successful if they have a single focus. And in your properties, it happens to be sober living. And in sober living, sometimes I believe you can have, it's not uncommon to have more than one person per room. Is that your experience?
Exactly. Four 2 beds and 2 single beds.
Four.
I mean, 2 bedrooms that have, one apartment or bedroom that has 2 beds in it twice. That's 4, and then 2 separate beds. So that's 6.
I see. Okay. And in co-living, at least the niche I'm going after, it will be one person per bedroom. Okay. So that's a little bit more spacious, but where it differs is that I'm looking to use the house more efficiently. So the living room is probably going to be made into at least 1 bedroom, maybe 2, depending on the size. The common spaces, there will be some common spaces, but not as many as in traditional housing. The focus will be, their space will be their bedroom. That's and that's why I don't want to cut it down. But the commonality of having a house that is focused on a single thing is, in my opinion, key. For example, if it happens to be near a hospital, it might be people who work at the hospital. So you have traveling nurses and technicians and the such. But the one thing that they have in common is that they work at the hospital. If it's near a university, it might be that they are all like graduate students. I wouldn't do undergrad myself, but, graduate students might be, or faculty that are visiting faculty, things of that sort. And in my own particular interest, I'm looking at focusing on senior, meaning 55 plus, but not assisted living, because assisted living is like sober living. It requires different things, regulations, licenses, help, and often it will have more than one person per room. I'm not interested in the last part of life because I don't want to see my clients dying. And I'm not interested in sober living because I'm a real bleeding heart. So, if somebody was caught doing drugs in the bathroom, I'd probably be like, give it to me, and not kick them out, or something like that. I don't think I do well in those two. So I'm looking at the area just before going into assisted living, 55 plus, healthy, vigorous, and rich. Now, why would a rich person want to live in a house with other people? Because the people that I'm going to be catering to are people who have lost their partners. They're going to be either they've been divorced or their partner has passed. They have a big house. It's too big to really clean and enjoy. The kids don't come over that often. They don't really need it. They've got a nice car, but they're frickin' lonely. And a lot of people get super depressed, and that pushes them into assisted living sooner than they should be. So my thought is that, in that last part of healthy living, that's where I think that they would be wise to liquidate the house, because they don't need that much house. They don't need a landscaper always coming over or trying to cut the grass themselves or this or that, and focus on themselves. Because I call it the last hurrah, because living in a house with, it needs to be anywhere from 8 to no more than 12 people that are common in that nice neighborhood, A-class neighborhood, B+, nice house, big, no sharing 4 people per bathroom like Pad Split does. That's not where I'm interested in. I want each person to have their own ensuite bathroom. And in this niche, we will keep the living room and the dining room because the living room might be split up and made into kind of a sitting area and a reading or games room. And the dining area might be, for another activity. They're going to be doing things, and I will be bringing services to them, such as, what do you want? If it's a house of women, I might say anybody interested in, and actually it won't be me. I mean, it will be in the first house, but as I go up, it'll be in the homes. Anybody interested in massage? Should we bring in a masseuse for Friday? Anyone want a mani and a pedi? Or how about that social media stuff? Why don't we get into it if that's what they want? We'll set up the computers. We'll bring in a person who can teach older people, but healthy, no memory issues, and they can get on their own YouTube, whatever. Or would they like to travel? Do they want to go to Iceland? They've always wanted to go to Iceland. Okay, so how many? Bring in an agency that caters to older people, and maybe one, maybe two, maybe three decide to go. And it's all a la carte. I call it the last hurrah because they're basically taking some of that money that they would be leaving to their kids and living their life to the fullest, because we all know that at some point we're going to have to be in assisted living. Or, maybe you get lucky and you get hit by a bus and you don't have to go that route. But the point is, this is the last time for them to really live healthily and fully. So why not take them out of a lonely, depressing situation and bring them together? And I believe that those people will not leave. I think that once they find their tribe, and if there's a troublemaker, they're out. But once they find the house and they're happy with the house, they're not going to want to, I think I'll move to another house. They'll be happy. It's only when they have to go to assisted living that they will move. So I'm very interested in it because there's over between 6,000 to 7,000 people who enter the baby boomer category each day. And unfortunately, a lot of them end up being depressed and die too young, go into, assisted living because they're in the dumps.
Thank you for the clarification. Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking the question.
Mr. Mike Key, you are on with Effie. What's your question?
Hey, Effie, how much has, you mentioned earlier with social media about not caring, how much has your consistency in just doing it contributed to your overall success and the opportunities that has started to bring you when it comes to networking with co-living?
A fair amount. As a matter of fact, I see Charlotte Hudskins, who I don't think I know, but she's got a sub 2 on there. And she says, you and I are on the same page and the need will be huge with boomers. I'd love to connect with you, Charlotte. I see Jared and I have connected, and he's going to be attending and presenting actually on that Zoom series that I'm going to do that I am doing on co-living, but not today because I'm on with JJ. But I think the consistency is key. And I don't even know that it happens. Like Charlotte, I don't know that it happens. But I have done a fair amount of research on co-living. And in sub 2, we only had pad split. And I was like, I don't want to do C- properties. I mean, I like like the workforce. There's nothing wrong with a workforce, but what about in a neighborhood where the property could appreciate? Because I want the appreciation. So I went searching, and I've done a fair amount of searching, and then I consistently talked on it. And then I met Sam. We've had numerous conversations. I did a live with him. I brought him on my podcast. I'm in the inner circle. I think all of that only comes from just talking about it. And Sam said to me, "Oh, you're such an interesting person. I mean, you post about your watermelons." And I'm like, yeah, I love watermelons and I'm successfully growing them. And it's my first time, and in a way I knew it was a little bit of a tease, but also he's like, wow, like he's got a team now. It's a small team, but still he's got a team. And I think that a lot of times people care about the brand. my brand, the only brand I have really are my glasses, and and maybe my cat, if my cat would wake up, but I don't worry. When you came to me and said, let's talk about the fact that you don't have a mic. This was before I had my mic, and you got the piddly little camera. I thought that's a good idea, because too many people don't go on because they think, oh, I'm going to sound tinny. Yeah, but at least I was being heard, and I replaced it as soon as I could. So I think that the consistency is the most important thing for me, and just doing it. And I want to say thank you for being my friend.
You're welcome.
Mike, thank you so much for joining us, my friend. Mario, you're back with Effie. What's your question?
Effie, you said about consistency. One of the biggest things, everybody's a perfectionist or attempts to be. My question to you is, how do you feel from the beginning when you first did it to now? Like, you don't give an F, which is funny, is the same thing as I did it for 5 years. Obviously, my 5 years when I first started was not as good as it is now. But for a newbie, they don't have to have the perfect angle, the lighting, the camera, and that. They just have to get out and do it. And I try to teach people to say, you learned something a minute ago, apply it, and you'll teach somebody else. Is that kind of what you would recommend?
Yes, it is. Because if you do go to my podcast and you look at some of until not that long ago, I was in my daughter's basement, and there was a fridge in the background, the beer fridge in the basement. And I was like, okay, am I going to stress over this? I was like, wait, let me put my, Facebook, not my Facebook, my sub-2 sign up near it. And I don't care. And every once in a while, my son-in-law or my daughter would be coming down, to going to the fridge. And, and I'm like, it is what it is. I am not going to stress on it. I do think I'm getting better. And frankly, I wore a pretty top for JJ. But normally, like I'll be in my t-shirt, like I like t-shirts. But when I moved in here, I didn't have any couches. I only had like 2 chairs to sit on until I ordered everything. So what? You don't like it, you don't have to watch. I think if you do it more for yourself, like just to do it, that's the thing. And then you turn around and you go, am I close to 1,000? And then I was like, hey guys, I'm close to 1,000. And all of a sudden people are, helping me get over 1,000. And I'm like, wow. Okay. I don't think I'm a rock star, and I don't think I'm famous or any of that, but I do think that people sometimes will say, well, hell, if Effie can do it, why the effing can't you? And I'm like, yeah, that's right. If I can push somebody along, great.
Well, you're a fantastic role model. So that's, to me, what I like about you is I've watched you in many different ways, even though we never actually spoke. And that's the thing, if more people had your perception of just do it, mine is whenever I go live, I'm educating somebody else. And I don't really care what I look like. Most of the time, for 5 years, they would watch me and my dog. They don't care about me. They cared about my dog. And I said, did you ever get any of the content? Well, we noticed your dog was limping. Well, he's getting old. And I'm like, you didn't take away what I said? No, I was just looking at your dog. Okay, but it's funny.
That's great.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? If you take him to the vet, you can write that off. It's an expense for your business.
Yeah, there you go.
Jared, you are on with Effie. What's your question?
Hey, Effie, how's it going?
Good. Nice to see you.
Yeah, this is more for those that are potentially looking to get in the co-living space. One might have a concern for multiple people being in a particular house, right? So can you talk about what you did or how you're going about looking at your markets or the neighborhoods and things like that to address those potential concerns for multiple people in a house?
Meaning for the people who are in the house?
Well, for that, and then also maybe the neighborhood, the neighbors, legal potential legal issues. So I know that's a kind of a broad question, but maybe something in that space.
Yeah, I do think that in some areas you can't do it. So I won't be looking at any HOAs. I don't want to have to deal with that. I'm looking at higher end neighborhoods. So I want to make sure that the property is big enough to accommodate the nice vehicles that these people will have. As far as the neighborhood's concerned, I want them to think, oh, that's nice. And especially when they find out, that, oh, these are all seniors, I don't know if they're going to say, oh my God, there's some seniors living near us. We're at high risk. I don't think so. I hope that they welcome it. And everything will be taken care of rather nicely. So I don't think that that's going to be an issue, as long as there's plenty of space to put the cars, and especially if we can put them behind the house, not in front. In regards to the people, even though I'm looking at seniors, it doesn't really matter. You still have criminals that are seniors and the such. There will be background checks. They're going to be background checks, and all of them, because there are platforms to do that for any person who rents in a property. And of course, I'm going to do that with the folks that are in the same house. Furthermore, I think that because this is coming from Sam's teaching, that you set the system up right by saying from the very beginning, what's the premise of this house, so that they kind of understand, oh, I'm 18 and I'm just moving out of home. This is going to be fun. I'm going to rent a room. Oh yeah, no, I don't want to be in with old women, even if it's a girl, right? They would kind of understand that, so they wouldn't be drawn to it. But getting people that will have similar backgrounds is important. And that's one thing that you're going to stress as much as legally possible. Once the house is set up, in my case, with there being older folks, and I don't expect a lot of turnover at all, I think it's going to all be like, if Susie has to go to supported living at that point, there's going to be a lineup waiting to get in, because it's going to be known in the community, and these people are going to be visible. They're going to be doing things in the community. I'm hoping they'll be interested in volunteering in schools, like elementary schools and such. The whole idea is to put as much life back into these, like to let these people really live 100%, so that when they come to dying, they're like, it's okay, I did a lot, and I use my money wisely, because how better can you use it than putting it in yourself during the last time that you're really going to be healthy? So I don't think that getting people who are similar will be an issue, but you have to be careful. I mean, you are allowed to advertise 55 plus, but you do want to be careful to follow all the laws and make sure but do as much as you can in the way of screening. And Sam, you'll learn on that challenge. Sam has some good things. He's been doing it for 14 years. So even though he's young, he's already fallen on his nose and scraped his knees and elbows. So he tells us what to watch out for. So I think it's well worth learning. And I told him, I said, listen, Pace said to bring it into sub 2, so whatever I'm learning, I'm going to be kind of regurgitating out there once I've proven it. And he said, like, go for it. So I like that about him. He's not like, oh, no, that's mine. Now, I'm not talking about all his legal forms and such. I'm talking about the methodology.
Thank you, Effie.
I'm very excited about what you're doing, by the way.
It'll be done next week. Construction's
I
done.
can barely wait.
Me too.
We may have to have you on soon to talk about what you're doing.
Sure, yeah. We got plenty of pictures and videos, and my YouTube channel's up to 300. So yay!
Good for you. Good for you. Now, as you know, I want you to present at the Zoom series,
Sure.
and for that, I want you to put together a PowerPoint presentation.
Ooh,
So
fancy.
you can, absolutely, because in the future, that will be one of your pitch decks that you're going to go and raise more money to get more co-living spaces.
Yeah.
There's a method to my madness.
Now we have Charlotte coming on here. She had something in the chat earlier.
Hi, Effie. How are you today?
I'm good, Charlotte. Thank you so much for being here.
I do have a couple of questions. As you were talking with Jarrett, I'm kind of at the beginning of this. You've gone a little bit further on it. Just the whole concept behind, I guess, teaching them. Okay, I'm sorry. I lost my mom and my stepmom last year, so I'm probably going to get a little choked up over this, but I loved that concept. I learned so much in being their caregiver, how we tend to want to put them in wheelchairs, not necessarily for them, but for us, because we want to go fast, right? And just that gap that has developed in our society between the older, population, and what is a way that can bridge that gap. And I really think you are on to something. I really do.
I know I am. I'm
definitely.
so sorry that you lost 2 in 1 year. That's really,
it was
really rough.
Yes. Yeah. But anyway, so I probably want to try to tackle that topic a little bit more as well.
Sure.
But I do have one, and then I'll exit the stage so someone else can come on. Have you? And I did come in late, so if you already covered this, it's fine. I'll look at the replay. Did you talk about costing at all? The structure tied with that?
When you say costing, you're talking about
yeah, because one of the things that I was thinking is that you do have, obviously, seniors, they're at every economic level. So I had those who were at the fixed income level, because I have run into quite a few of those where they have a fixed income. We have to try to do some things, paying them under the table because they couldn't show, that sort of thing, right? But so you have that group, but then you also have the other group that has a substantial, amount of money, savings. So are you targeting both or primarily the latter?
No, that's a good question. That's a really good question. And I'd like to explain what I'm doing and why. I'm only targeting the people that have high net worth. And the reason for it is I think that this is new, relatively new, and that it will be a blast once it becomes successful for people to know that they can get into, no more than a dozen people, let's say 8 on the average, and have a great time during this last, whatever it is. It could start at 55, but it could go to 95. It depends on their health. Once I think that it has some publicity and is established, I think people are going to come running to this niche because it's huge, because of how many people, baby boomers, are, becoming baby boomers every day. And I want to make it as fulfilling as possible. So for me, I think going after high net, catering to high net seniors will let it be the most attractive it can be. Now, I believe that whether they're on Social Security or whether they are on long-term not necessarily disability, because that would be assisted living, but if they are in Section 8, the government supports a lot of people. And sometimes they will pay more than the market rate if you'll take like Section 8, for example, if you will open to Section 8. And I think that's a great idea. But to answer your question, I think it'll be easier for me to target the upper end. And it's such an easy sell because I myself am not going to be living in a co-living home because I've been on my own since, 30 years. And I like my space, I sometimes yell at the cat, hey, I'm going to get rid of you if you don't stop all that, because I like big space. So I don't need, I'm one of these people that is self-fulfilled in other ways through books and outside. But apparently that isn't normal. People get depressed and they shut down and they close themselves in. So I want to change that. I want to open it up and give them a chance to live a very fulfilled number of years, whatever they have. And of course, the more they're fulfilled, the better chance they are that they're going to live longer. So it's rather becoming a mission, to be honest. But I think that by starting at the top and showing it that way will be a lot easier than going from much more constraints, like not having as much to be able to bring to the table, and moving up. That's my own philosophy.
No, I think it's super smart. And if you really think about it, it's kind of how things are rolled out by even big manufacturers, right? Who were the first to get the radios or the TVs? And then it was like, oh, Johnny, down the street. And you're right. It helps to kind of get the word out. Yeah. So that's really smart.
Right. And computers. I mean, I remember when the only ones that had computers, this is how old I am, were engineers, right? They were the only ones that had computers, because who would have a computer? Everybody had typewriters, and I happened to be, get married to an engineer. So, we had one. Well, then very soon I was like, oh, no. If you have one, I want one too. We always had more computers than people in the house. And now computers are ubiquitous. They're just everywhere. So if they, they're expensive, they were specifically catered to one thing, and then they grew out. So that's my thought. Thanks. And I look forward to connecting with you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you. Mario, you are back. Thank you for joining.
Sorry. I'm not trying to hog. Effie, I guess one of the biggest things is a go-giver that you are in a community that does it. How can we help you grow this? Because I build 55 and over communities, but I see the need from your, as a developer. But what happens is,
nice.
I deal with a lot of high-end people. I bring them down to, like, let's say Florida from New York, and I use Medicaid and Medicare. I have Maryland's training, so I understand how to do estate planning. And I get Medicaid and Medicare to provide housing for them. I get them off the asset off their name and social, so that they don't get liquidated. How do we help you grow this? Because this sounds like a really very noble cause. And are you also doing it where you're doing a nonprofit? Acquiring these assets? Go ahead.
I don't think so. I'm not sure, because I haven't gotten that far. I got pulled back a little bit as soon as I welcomed Sam onto my podcast, because the people in sub 2 were like, wait, we want to learn, and I was like, wait, guys, I got to go learn and get good at it. Then I'll come back. And they're like, no, let's all learn together. And I'm like, that's not a bad idea. So frankly, to be honest, Mario, I don't know what I don't know yet. But that's why I'm in Sam's, mentorship, and that's a lot of money. So, and I haven't met any people like yourself that have, as a developer, the 55 plus, because it does occur to me that it might be able to be done in a bigger way if it was developed from the ground and up. And Sam is now doing his first from the ground up. Now, he's not in the senior arena, but, I'll see what I can do about that. So I am definitely willing to learn. And if you are open to connecting, what could people do to help me? Basically, know what it is I'm doing, and like your suggestion, like use your head and say, how could I help, for this to get a footing? Because there are a lot of us, and we're all, they're all in these big ass houses, and the younger people don't have a freaking place to live. If we can provide good situations, they're going to, end up using some of that money for themselves, but they should, because they worked their whole life, and it will free up a lot. So I think that there's a bunch of places that can be, that can benefit. Like somebody says to me, what are you going to do about the house they leave? I go, what about it? They go, you should take it. You should see if you can work it, and then you can flip it, and you can buy it. And I was like, I'm not even going there yet. Like all I'm thinking about is that person, getting them from being lonely to getting them to being adventuresome and happy. But I suppose, yeah, it's going to free up real estate, but I don't even want to start thinking on it yet. It's not something that is a driver for me, but it's going to become obvious. I had immediately thought of how it will free up that housing, but my involvement in their housing, I was like, I don't know, let it go. But I'd be very interested in talking or learning about developing something from the ground up. Sure.
Yeah, don't forget about the asset that they're leaving. It's a great thing to create another co-living, because a lot of
In
these
some
are
situations, it will be.
3,000 to 5,000 square foot big houses that the senior does not have the capability. I bring them down to a single ranch where it's wheelchair accessible if I know they're within the next 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I make sure I get them Medicaid and Medicare is because then they get a assisted living. So they get a nurse to come in for 8 hours a day, then graduate to 12, and then graduate to 24/7. So, and it avoids the probate and strategy.
Well, I'll have to learn from that for sure.
Yeah.
And I have thought of this, that they can't stay in their own home.
Exactly.
Meaning, like, let's say, well, first off, I'm going to be looking for single story places, because people don't like doing stairs as they get older, and that's where they get hurt and stuff like that. And a lot of these homes are second, 2-story places that they're moving out of. They don't even go upstairs. But the point that I wanted to make is that even if they had lived in the ranch and it was perfect for subdividing into co-living, if it were their home, I don't think that they would treat others as equals. And the whole concept is everyone that comes in is equal. They're, to be together. So that had occurred to me. And there's a lot. I'm just at the beginning. And right now I'm just one person. The other way you guys could help me, please, I need an integrator. If you guys know an integrator, a really good integrator who wouldn't be adverse to working with an old biddy and who could be interested in my vision, that would be great. I'd love to start connecting with some integrators and see if I can find the right one, because I got to grow. I can't do this as one person. I need to build a team, and I'm willing to build a team, but I'm a little lost at that. Cause like how many times have you built a team that focuses around your idea?
One thing I like about you and JJ is that you guys are genuine about helping other people. I'm not a big fan of just transactional money making.
Me too.
Yep.
Kind of wrap up a little bit. We've got some great content. Oh my gosh, you dropped some great nuggets and sharing your story. I actually know a couple integrators that are with the Sub2 community, and later I'll be able to, share their names with you, and I kind of take notes on different things, and whatever I can do to help you, I'd be more than overjoyed to do so. Last question before we head out to the breakout rooms. My group's a networking group. I don't really go into content. I bring people to talk about different fields of expertise, but each real estate education community has a Facebook page for their membership, whether it's Sub2 or Astro or Gator. There's a wide variety of them. My question was going to be that, like Sub2, we have new investors coming, we have successful investors coming, but a lot of them are new to using social media for real estate. And a lot of people think they can just continue to do their real estate by themselves. With your experience of being in Sub2 community, as well as an investor using social media, what's the importance of using networking to build one's business, and even maybe joining a group like mine, or just in general networking for the new real estate investor coming to social media? How important is networking?
I'd say it's critical. Right now I'm in I'm in the process of setting up 2 JV agreements for businesses, both in sub 2, and one in Florida and one in California. And that wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for, networking. So I think networking, and look what happened today. I mean, you know what? I think I need to say thank you, JJ, because I was kind of anxious about this, to be frank with you. And Mike, stop laughing. And I got to meet Charlotte, and Jared, see Jared again, and Mike, of course, and Mario, and I just want to say thank you. I wasn't expecting it to go this way, for that many people to even be interested.
Well, I appreciate that, and you're very welcome, and thank you for coming on as a guest. As I said earlier, we don't always realize the impact that we have when we're just living our life. But as you said, there's a very large community in Sub 2 of wonderful, wonderful people. And I think I know those wonderful, wonderful people have come to know you for your qualities of being wonderful yourself. And, they, as well as myself, we just appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Again, now, if you guys are watching now on YouTube, I want you to please like Effie's video. Please like our presentation today. Please put in the comments on YouTube what your takeaways were, what you liked, what you didn't like, need to do my hair again or something. But, please feel free to interact. Please like the video, like it or thumbs up, thumbs down, doesn't really matter. Please engage with the video. And don't forget to follow Effie on YouTube and Instagram. And if you want to follow me a little bit, my website's jjazizan.com. Just hit the register now button, get you to be a part of the group. And Effie, we're going to go to the breakout rooms. Everybody else, thank you for joining us. We'll see them soon. And we're going to go to the breakout rooms and meet some more people. Right, Effie?
Sure.
See you guys soon. Thank you.